Welcome back to the Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Got my friend on, Jim Talerico, with the Greater Prairie Business Consulting out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And Jim, as always, delighted to have you on the program. He's kind of famous on LinkedIn with over 30,000 followers on LinkedIn and very well integrated, huge network in the business community out there. Jim, how are you today?
Good morning, Kevin. How are you? Just a quick note on LinkedIn. I just passed that 30,000 threshold this month, and once you reach 30,000, you get cut off. And so it's a matter of managing your pipeline from them. That's
okay, so at 30,000, they will no longer let you add more?
That's correct.
That's sad. I don't know why they do that. It's very Facebookish of them. That's too bad.
Yeah. Well, Facebook today announced they're coming up with a for work version, so we'll see what happens. But I still think LinkedIn is a great tool.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it. In fact, that's how you and I met. So I certainly am not going to begrudge them. Tell us a little bit about Greater Prairie Business Consulting before we get into our topic today.
Sure. We have a 3-step process. We offer an independent business analysis, check over 275 different areas of the business. We offer assistance with change implementation, which can be very difficult. And we have a post-consulting follow-up program that I think is second to none to help ensure project alignment and payment and a substantial ROI for our clients.
Awesome. And we're at that time of the year where people are thinking in terms of tax planning and trying to figure out, what the next year is going to look like. What do you think?
Well, what I wanted to do today, Kevin, is talk a little bit about what's coming up for 2015. My intention was also to talk a little bit about the calendar year 2014. And I think what I'll do is I have a lot of good information. I'll post that on your website. I love what you're doing with the website. So we'll just focus on some things that people will start to have to think about for 2015.
Okay, very good.
I had planned to have a CPA on. He wasn't able to make it the last minute. And so while I'm not a CPA, and while Congress still has time to put things in place, the only thing I'd ask your audience is to take these ideas and make sure they discuss them with their tax professional.
Okay. Very
Hopefully
good.
your listeners are starting to think about tax planning, and I think this will be a good review for them. In terms of things that are part of Obama's 2015 budget, I guess I'll start with the positive stuff first. It's a pretty short list. But they're looking to eliminate capital gains tax on investments in small business stocks. So I think that's fantastic. They're looking at making S-corps responsible to pay self-employment tax as opposed to the individual. They're looking to repeal the LIFO accounting rules. LIFO is an acronym, last in, first out. And in periods of inflation, it helps you save a little bit of money on taxes.
Okay.
There is some talk about bringing back the Section 179, but he's also looking to tighten up taxes on carried interest, some tax shelters, and certain stock portfolios.
You're going to have to remind the listener what Section 179 was.
Okay, that was a rule that allowed companies to expense instead of depreciate assets that they purchased.
Okay.
Here's a change. With companies with more than 10 employees are going to have to automatically enroll those employees in IRAs. The business will receive a tax.
Wait a minute, I hadn't heard that one at all. You're going to have to slow down a little bit on that. Elaborate on that.
It's kind of a soft deal. Basically, he's going to give a tax credit to the businesses to offset whatever the cost would be for that, and employees would be able to opt out. But I guess what they want to do is encourage people to start saving on their own.
Wow, that actually, I don't like the paternal tone to that, but you know what? At least it's putting more responsibility on individuals. You got to like that.
Absolutely, yeah. They're big on control. That's the part you always have to be conscious of. But I think the intention here is positive.
That's interesting. I don't know how that ended up happening. What else do you have for us?
Well, we have the Affordable Care Act is kicking in 2015. So companies with 50 or more full-time employees, or a combination of 50 full-time and part-time employees, are going to have to offer minimum some minimum level of health care, or pay the IRS an employer shared responsibility payment. That payment is going to be basically $2,080 times the number of full-time employees. That's $80. And if these employees qualify for tax credits, that amount's going to be even higher, $3,120 times the number of employees.
That sure has continued to be a disaster. And the media has certainly kind of been dismissive about it, but I got a feeling what we saw in the elections a couple weeks ago was linked to this disaster called the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah. Now, on the individual level, I agree with that, and I'm hoping, I want to remain positive, but we'll see what happens. On the individual level, everyone's going to receive a IRS Form 1095, and they're going to have to report their medical coverage. And basically, they're going to have to start paying a penalty if they don't have medical coverage.
Yeah.
In 2014, it'll be 1% of their income or $95, whichever is higher. But in 2016, they're looking at a penalty of almost $700 or 2.5% of income.
Yeah, what they're going to have to do is if they want their penalty to work, and it's typical government, typical politics, you start off small, so people go, not a big deal. But in order for it to work, it's got to be comparable to what they would be paying for health insurance eventually. And that's going to be the ultimate goal. It's going to get higher to that point, I think. Don't you think, Jim?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Very good. What else you got for us with only a couple minutes left?
Yeah, okay. So alternative minimum tax is definitely on the radar screen. There's some confusion about whether they made the calculations correctly. But where we are right now is that level could start at $53,600 for individuals, $83,400 for married couples, $41,725 for married filing separately, and $23,800 for estates and trusts.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Very good. What do so you're a business consultant. How much of your knowledge and experience in the whole tax area plays a role in the type of consulting you do, Jim?
Well, because we take a big picture approach, Kevin, we want to consider everything. And we feel that if we can maximize our value by providing some basic guidance. Our contracts basically read that we're neither attorneys or tax professionals. So, that's really an opportunity to get tax professionals and attorneys involved. And one of the big areas for our business is because there's an aging population, succession planning is on the radar screen, and we could be a really good complement for those professions.
I think it's so important for everyone in any kind of selling type position to work to become a truly trusted advisor. And bringing the kind of wealth of information that you bring, I see it on the radio program. I'm sure you're applying it as you sit across the table with those you work with. I think it's so crucial. And I think it really is one of the things that differentiates your firm from others out there. And so, I say props to you, Jim.
I appreciate that, and I think you're dead on. It does. It's all about value.
Absolutely. Jim Talerico, Greater Prairie Business Consulting. I guess the best page to learn more about you still is PriceForBusiness.com, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, and
all right.
We'll post all the 2014 stuff up on your website.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Thanks so much, Jim. I appreciate it. When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here, including this interview, will be found over there at the national news website, USDataReview.com, and this is The Price of Business.